Alright, so a few of you have been asking about the art I make for my music. So this is what this video is for. What I've done is I've exported a time-lapse from Procreate, and I'll just be talking over that. So hopefully that'll be able to sate some of the curiosity that you may have. Without further ado, the trader. So who is the trader, you might be asking? Okay, I should say that this is, a character from that comic that I'm still planning. But essentially, the trader was once the strongest martial artist in the world. After some things happened, he's now essentially gone rogue and acts as a rogue assassin. And so what he's doing here is standing over his victims. Anyway, the idea essentially was to create like an imposing silhouette where he's, shadowed mostly, standing in an intense way. The flaming effect on the sword here was something I had a little bit of fun with. It's basically very zoomed in noise. If you use the noise generator on Procreate, zoom in a lot, it has a cool swirly effect. And then what you can do is you slightly distort it with liquefy or whatever, and then using a special blend mode, it can have some really cool effects. So that's what I did there. And then adding the text here, and that's pretty much it. Okay, next we have Sir Mechanima. This guy is apparently quite popular with the algorithm, but essentially this fellow is somebody who's very interested in machines, robots, that kind of thing. I guess it makes sense that he knows how to play with the algorithm. Nothing too special here, because in the song I did a bit of processed beatboxing. I thought it would be fitting for him to do beatboxing here, so that's basically why. Alright, this one is interesting. Interstate Saturn. So essentially, what we have here is somebody driving on the rings of Saturn. Specifically, it's two cyborgs. One of them is the trader, and the other one is the trader's little sibling. I guess besides the idea of driving on Saturn's rings, there's not much else to note here besides the execution. Drawing the background, drawing space is something that I always find really fun. So you can see that I had an idea where everything would be kind of, purple, reddish from the lighting. So as you can see from the sketch I made at the beginning, I had this idea where the sun would shoot these light rays out, stretching across the entire picture. I actually made a mistake here, but don't tell anybody. The light rays from the sun are actually supposed to go on top of everything, not be covered by the rays, or not be covered by the rings of Saturn. But I guess it'd be a little bit too obtrusive, like it might cover. Actually, no, the way I angled it would have left room for like the characters in the car and everything. So I guess, well, if I had to redo this, I would make the light ray like shoot right across everything on top. Everything else here is just coloring in the characters and then doing the lighting. So yeah, nothing too special. Oh yes, I also did a little bit of cursive for the title. Okay, next we have Circuit Funk. For this, because the song has such a, bold, bombastic entrance, I decided that it would be fitting if I had a very bright, bold statement in terms of the image it would have. And of course it's named Circuit Funk, so I thought it would be interesting if the image had things to do with circuits. One of the instruments that feature in this song is the slap bass, and I don't know if you can hear it because I turned the volume down here very low, but one thing I associate with the sound of a slot bass, especially distorted like the way I've done it, is the sound of electricity. So I decided that the starring character would be, literal embodiment of electricity. Yeah, I didn't describe any of my processes, but it's just drawing circuit board pieces, and if I should note, anthropomorphized ones. So yeah, I thought the walking resistors were really funny. They're my favorite designs. Next we have fleeing time. Essentially the idea here is there's a figure that's representing time, and then they're like down, it's not exactly a hallway, but it's more like, several rooms down. Supposed to represent, the slow encroaching of time. And yeah, I thought having this dramatic silhouette bring a very interesting effect. There was an eye, like eyeball, that you might see here, that I added here to try to represent, how like creepy or intense time might seem, but I scrapped it in the end. Okay, Techno Renaissance is a short example because essentially I just drew a random city skyline and then put some fancy effects on it, and I had a picture I drew before of some city that I just put a square in. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So for Nightburn, I essentially just have a picture of the character, Hal Karth. I suppose there isn't too much interesting to say about this, like he's just standing on water or whatever, and then there is, I guess it could be like blood or something dripping on to make that puddle. So I can talk a little bit about Hal. He is the lead, like the I don't know what, I haven't decided, captain or leader of a secret government security team on the planet Relevant, which is, the aforementioned city where there's lots of technological development. Here's a fun one. We have Shocking Finale. And as you know, it's Electric Swing, and I had an idea for a villain in the story who's supposedly very old, but not old in the sense that they're, old, but in the sense that they are immortal. Somehow this connects to Electric Swing. Don't ask me how. Oh yes, you can see here that I was actually planning to have some cyborg elements, but I decided to hide them for now. Essentially one of the types of magic he uses is elemental magic, so you can see here I was planning on having water magic, but I switched it out for electric. And now you see I'm doing a lot of effects, and this is where I had a lot of fun creating the background effects. It can look a little bit trippy, but I think it's really cool to watch in time-lapse form. So for Wrench in the Gears, I essentially had somebody, our pirate rebel fella, well, not a pirate, but he has the eye patch, who's being dragged down by these hands of despair or depression or whatever you'd like to call them, and yet he keeps that glint of determination in his eye. So I thought it was pretty fitting for the theme I had for the song, that kind of mood. Alright, for Sleepless Dream, I had this idea of somebody floating in a room, and each side of the room would represent something different. For example, at the bottom here you see is a cityscape, representing society or modern living, whatever you want to call it. In the back there's dreams and delusions, is what I would call it. That sort of thing. On the left, freedom, because it's the sky. On the right, it's orange. Yeah, it's just orange. And then on the top is supposed to be space, which is slightly connected to the sky. But it's also, I think, a very interesting thematic. Space is very interesting to me. I like space, essentially. You might have noticed the figure is now more cheerful than they started out to be, and I thought that would be fitting for the depressing yet upbeat sound of the song. Pulse is just a drawing of a spaceship in space. For a time found only in dreams, I just wanted to draw something very dreamlike. So I had this idea of somebody whose body was basically turning into this flowery garden-looking thing, looking at his watch. And you know, in dreams when you look at something and it's very surreal, it's hard to directly show that vibe, but I thought it would be interesting to have, you know, this character acting like, you know, just doing something normal in a very abnormal landscape. In this case, a very strange world where both the sky and the earth is filled with forests and some buildings for that matter. Alright, so that was basically an overview of most of the drawings I've done. I may do another video once I have more drawings to talk about. Probably won't do so much explaining. That was a bit tedious. Yeah, I'll leave you off with a bit of a teaser of a song in progress. Might not be the next song, but at least it's something that you'll see in the eventual future.